Pinkie Pie presents an Equestria Girls review of what we know so far. Narrated by Cat Mila. First, let's take a look back at what we know so far. The original Hub song was released as a parody of California Girls by Katy Perry around May 24th, 2011. On May 27th of that same year, Sethisto received an email from HubTV.com with an extended version of the song, which they said would be airing the next Saturday, and that it contained a shout-out to their favorite pony fans. And so it did. Early in the fandom, this was basically the first official major recognition of bronies from any show or official group, and it aired on the Hub. Not sent to a single site, not a tweet, a repeating line on the Hub. It really made the fandom puff up its chest in pride. Then, of course, we didn't really hear anything about it for a long time, and in a way, we kind of forgot about Equestria Girls. Then, on December 17th, 2012, a trademark was applied for under the category Toy Ponies and Accessories to Use Therewith, under the trademark ID 85804403. The same trademark is also registered under dolls, doll clothing, and doll accessories. This basically meant that Hasbro was making a toy line, most likely. Perhaps we might see a split where the target audience moves a bit towards Equestria Girl toys, possibly leaving room for more brony-targeted toys. Actually, let's face it, a lot of MLP merchandise has come out, and we've all basically claimed it for the bronies. So I don't mind if more toys come out for the girl fans. After all, it still benefits the financial numbers for MLP. February 12th, 2013, EQD reported a series of rumors and newly found supportive evidence that Equestria Girls was going to be a spin-off series where the ponies would take human form. Then, March 1st of this year, the New York Times ran an article talking about redesigning the toys for different generations. They included this image. And then an ad appeared showing the expected DVD cover. On EQD, Sethisto pointed out the characterizations are fairly opposite of our usual cute semi-chubby ponies, with their tiny little bodies and their big old feet, and some of them had cutie mark on their faces and wings, and no horns though. That's weird. March 10th, 2013. Some images start floating around of Spike as a dog. This has since been confirmed. April 21st, 2013. Daniel Ingram posted that the show's music will be off the hook. May 12th, 2013. Equestria Girls trailer is released. Now that the trailer is released, there is absolutely no way for any brony to live in denial any longer. This is coming, so let's go ahead and look at the trailer. The trailer opens with a nice, very pink and very Pinkie Pie, somewhat psychedelic opening that I enjoyed. And a cool shot of the Crystal Empire, along with Twilight saying that she is excited but nervous. Ironically, to me, this reflects the fandom. We want to get excited, and in a way we are, but a lot of people are nervous about the implications. I'll be covering implications later, by the way. The first 12 seconds, all of which are pony, look very good. So, know that we will at least get some pony out of it. Celestia explains that Twilight will soon know more about this place than she does. Then she sends Twilight off by herself, confirming to me that Celestia is once again our favorite troll. Q expected spinning Twilight sucked into the vortex with Spike, even though it looked fairly clear that Twilight was going by herself. Then Twilight comes to, with hands. Spike was already conscious. Perhaps the most disturbing thing to me here is how apathetic Spike seems. He isn't happy, but he isn't doing anything to help Twilight or calm her down, or he just sits there like this happens all the time. Oh, yeah, my friend grew hands. Woo! Though in retrospect, crazy things do seem to happen all the time in Equestria. Oh, and Spike also has a cutie mark. Actually, I think they're just spots. But if you want to put that in there, you can. Now we start seeing a number of the human animations. I don't particularly like them. They're cartoon human movements, no better or worse than really any other cartoon humans. But ponies always felt different to me. They were, chubby, and so they could be cute, and they always seemed warm and cuddly compared to the twigs that the humans in the show call appendages. More important, I'm curious about how Twilight makes it to the school. We can see at later times the sixth element from the Elements of Harmony is, there. It's Twilight's crown, presumably the crown of the winner of the Princess of the Fall Formal. Of course, this seems a bit contrived to me, but I will have to see the film to pass judgment. And then we get to some actual comedy, rather than Twilight running around like a chicken with her head cut off. I would like to point out that I hate stupidity being used as a plot point. If done well, a lack of intelligence can work just fine. A la Of Mice and Men, where a mentally challenged man makes a mistake based on a character flaw. The reader or viewer can believe it. But when intelligent characters make irrational, pointless mistakes, it just kind of takes a grater to my nerves. I bring this up because running around randomly in a strange land surrounded by creatures you know nothing about makes absolutely no sense for an intelligent character, especially when they knew they would be going to a strange land in the first place. We see Twilight trying to eat for the first time. Whoop, my meme sense is tingling. And then Twilight runs into a wall. That's what happens when you run around like the chicken with the head cut off, sweetie. Then we get to a scene that I actually really do like. I plan on breaking down some things later, but I can't pass this up. Pinkie is not my favorite character due to some abuses of her character for comedy, but a character that I really love when done well. Look at this animation. It is so 100% good Pinkie. She's working on a party, and then this generic balloon gag pops up. One of the things I love most about My Little Pony Friendship is Magic is how they present old cliches. I am really happy with how this cliche turned out. It's animated well and presented as both an introduction to a character and her personality for those who are new to MLP. Plus, it's also a reference to her cutie mark. And then she pulls a pen out of her hair, which I think is going to be a thing. I really hope it is, because it would be a great representation of her ability to pull objects from out of nowhere. Here we see some dancing, some terrible dancing. I think the ponies can actually dance better. Oh, wait. Okay, maybe not. Then we see everyone cheering on Rainbow Dash, which is basically the same as Friendship is Magic. And Rainbow Dash actually has a very Rainbow Dash expression. It's all, it totally says like, ha, you think that's good? I suck at Rainbow Dash impression. Humans wearing pony ears, which I think is quite amusing, though Fluttershy should take it light on the eyeshadow unless she wants to be a villain. She does have a good evil laugh, though. Apparently Snips and Snails get up to their old tricks of following around the quote-unquote villain. And the antagonist is also the one who has the crown when it activates. This leads me to believe that she might just get turned into a nice character in the end. And the last thing that stands out to me is Applejack's parting words. You do realize that's not a real word, right? It makes my meme sense tingle. Ooh, they tingle so strong. Mwah. I don't know. Now, what we can expect from the movie. Spike is a dog. This seems to be something that everyone agrees is terrible, but I disagree. Because, number one, what else would Spike be? The age range for high school and middle school are taken up by the main six in the CMC, which he's younger than. So if he was a person, he would most likely be absent because he would be too young. And number two, if he were a child, he would be a child, and children are almost always not the best characters in movies. The Spike from the show is a child, but he is both a dragon and raised quite well by Twilight or Celestia. Or Celestia, then Twilight, depending on your personal canon. As Twilight is apparently absent in this world, which is something worth pointing out, by the way, it would also raise questions about Spike's family. And really, Spike is the best looking character to me. Admit it, if you had a dog that looked like Spike in this, it would be an awesome dog. In fact, the only toy I look forward to from this is Spike's. He looks most like the animations from the show. He has a very expressive face. He pulls off looking like Spike and looking like a dog, and the combination actually makes him look cooler and cuter than his actual character, at least to me. I also expect him to generally have better animations, as his four-legged form is more similar to what the animators are used to. The problem, from what I suspect based on other people's complaints, seems to be his speaking role. Also his role in the movie and his character. With no voice, I don't think he will speak. And he doesn't really seem to have a role in the movie, as he never seems to be helping or comforting Twilight. However, I'm guessing that at some point Twilight will have some sort of breakdown, and Spike will be there to comfort her and maybe even help her solve the problem. What's that, Spike? You found the tiara? That solves everything! Oh, thank you, Spike! You're the best! Something like that. With the show's writers from our show, I expect all the characters in the show to be in character. Save some instances of being out of character that we've gotten used to, such as Twilight inexplicably doing things that make no sense. But then, of course, what fun is there in making sense? For both his character and animation, I would like to cite 44 seconds into the trailer. That's Spike, as Spike. 100% pure Spike. Couldn't be more Spike if Pinkie spiked Spike's punch with spiky spikes. Now, on the character designs and animations, a lot of people voiced the opinion that they are imitating Monster High. I have no clue about that, but the animation is the key similarity. But the fact is that without wings and cutie marks on their faces, hallelujah, they just look like most cartoon characters to me. So we don't get many ponies, but we will get some ponies. We'll also probably get a few cherished memes out of it for no other reason than the writing. And hey, Pinkie will still be awesome. This means the other characters might have their high points for animation as well. I'm expecting Dash and Fluttershy to be well done, because so much of their personality is in their posture. This is true for Rarity as well, though I expect her to stay in poses more often than not. Fabulous poses, but poses nonetheless. Okay, romance interest. Twilight has a romance interest. For a teenage audience. Go figure. I'm not going to go one way or the other on this love interest. However, I have a few notes of caution and support based on what I've seen. First, we haven't seen My Little Pony with romance. I don't know how experienced the writers are with it. Secondly, why is a pony character interested in a different species? This kind of bothers me, but I might be able to overlook it if they do a good job. Twilight, I'm guessing, either knows or learns how to walk pretty quickly, so I'm going to assume that instincts are automatically present. Thirdly, this romance kind of seems like a side plot. Maybe something to keep the main plot moving along. The main plot, I think, will be getting back, so I expect the romance to be, separate. Personally, I don't think it will end with, let's be together. That seems like a drastic kind of a switch from the show's conception, but it is what people fear, and unless it is done perfectly, I don't think it will sit well with me. Besides, if they want to continue, then they will need another romance option and/or competitions in the future. Lastly, what does this mean for the future of My Little Pony Friendship is Magic? We know the antagonist used to be Celestia's student, at least, going by the toy lore. So does this mean that Twilight might seek out the same nice guy in Equestria, just the pony version? Character breakdown. AJ will be AJ. It's hard to write a main character who is settled down and is generally a reasonable, intelligent individual. Putting her in high school doesn't really change who she is. I expect she will provide some much needed reason and calm and be a great support character, as she always is. Rarity will be Rarity. She will steal the show with her loud and proud but still proper ladylike personality. Pinkie, when done right in Fim, is my favorite character. But unfortunately, I've seen a lot of what I can say as inconsistencies with the show. Namely, only existing as filler and a gag as opposed to moving the plot forward or contributing in some meaningful way. I don't expect filler from this film much, so I can give an 80% chance of awesome. Speaking of awesome, Rainbow Dash. This is one character I don't really feel I can predict as well. I think she will be very much Rainbow Dash, if for no other reason than the writers are familiar with writing her. Fluttershy so far seems pretty on par with what we expect, but we mostly see her just react instead of interact, so I can't really tell. Twilight doesn't really seem like she'll be able to keep her cool. I expect the fire steam from the head joke, you know, her running around randomly, screaming or backing away when she meets her first human. Generally, everything you don't want to do in an alien world. I expect to enjoy Spike. Other than his opening dog scene, he seems on par with what I would want in a Spike dog. Or a dog Spike. And I definitely don't want a child human Spike. I think that would be most likely the ruin of him. Let's step away and look at the big picture now. The voice acting will be stellar and award-winning. It's the same voice actors and actresses. So, yeah, it's what we expect. The characters should be in character as much as they are in the show, because it's the same writers. Barring the romance, we can expect the same thing we always see. There are some good and some annoying bits of animation that we've seen so far. I'll leave this to being able to go either way. The pony animations all seem top-notch. The one thing that does not really bode well is that they might not have had as much time creating human animations for Flash, compared to the experience and the library that they can draw on when riding ponies. Spike is the only character whose design I like in the human world. Though I wish he had something closer to ears that hugged his head rather than the fins that just kind of stick out. The writing should be as good or about as good as the show. I dislike the premise to a degree, but I expect the writers that we already know and love and trust with the show to do at least a decent job. The Canterlot Wedding and Twilicorn were all basically created because Hasbro wanted it, and the writers pulled the wedding through spectacularly, and many also liked how they did Twilicorn. Now, to determine the effect on the MLP franchise, let's first assume the worst from what we know. Namely, that the premise is weak and the humanized forms and Spike don't give us a good first impression. Let's then assume something mediocre, that the animation turns out acceptably and the story is passable. In both of these cases, a few key things happen. Hasbro made an MLP movie. If it does well, then we might get another one, a pony one, a fully pony one. Hasbro is increasing the range of the target audience. Maybe someday this will increase in other ways and to a greater extent. Even if the film and the toy line breaks even, and let's be honest, we expect that, either from the bronies, little girls, teens, or a combination thereof, then Hasbro will see it as a win, because they will draw in a greater audience for the existing show and toy lines. A win for Hasbro is a win for us, because a win for Hasbro means greater investment in the intellectual property as a whole. There is more media coverage about MLP. Therefore, they get extra free advertising, which helps get the brand out there. In conclusion, Equestria Girls has some points that worry me. But there are ways that the movie can overcome them. Even if they don't, we still get music, voice acting, and some excellent animation. And probably some amusing memes. So, unless most of the things that get carried over from Friendship is Magic bomb, Equestria Girls will, at the very least, secure MLP as a worthwhile asset to invest more money in. And if everything else that worries us is mostly unfounded, then we also get an enjoyable film and maybe something new to enjoy. Now if they could just throw in some Sakura. We like Sakura, do we?
Yes.
And under the trademark ID of 858044403. Thanks for telling me that. Q expected spinning Twilight sucked into the vortex. Q expected spinning Twilight sucked into the vortex. Vortex. Keep them the vortex. Hope you well, Wessel. Then Twilight runs into a wall. Perhaps now we can stop running with the running around like the Scootaloo with the head cut off. Then Twilight runs into a wall. That's where the running around with your chicken with your head cut off comes in, baby. Apparently couldn't be more Spike if Pinkie spiked a Spike's punch with spiky spikes. He couldn't be more Spike if Pinkie spiked a sponge. I'm a thistle sifter.